Hi everyone. I apologize for the poor quality of this introduction. It's currently 1:20 in the morning and I don't feel like setting up my light. I asked someone today if it'd be alright if I put their name in the opening of this video to thank them for requesting these reviews, and they said yes, but they wanted to make sure that it was a certain way. They wanted it to be presented specifically a certain way, and I didn't know what that meant until I heard a knock at my door, and I went to go see what it was, and I received this. So, here it is. Special thanks to Peyton Knox for requesting these reviews. Thanks, Peyton. Peyton is my best friend, the best co-worker, and the best spiritual partner that anyone could ask for. Right now, that's debatable. Oh. And just like Deadpool, Peyton has an incredible super personality. Yeah. Happy Peyton. Thanks. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for waking me up at 1:15 in the morning, you mother. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'm talking about Deadpool 1 and Deadpool 2. When I first saw Deadpool, it was probably the worst situation I could have been in to watch a movie. I was on a plane leaving from New York, and I was watching it with my English teacher sitting right next to me. I didn't know what to expect with the first Deadpool movie. I knew about the Deadpool that was brought up in X-Men Origins Wolverine, but I'd never seen it. And so watching this movie, I didn't really know what to expect. And from the first frame of this film, it was a laugh riot, a muted laugh riot, but it was a very enjoyable movie. I loved how they were setting up the fourth wall breaking, how they translated that into film. I have never read the Deadpool comics ever in my life, but I can certainly say that next to Robert Downey Jr. and Ron Perlman, Ryan Reynolds gives one of the best performances of a comic book character. I feel that this is Deadpool. When I look at Ryan Reynolds, I think he is Deadpool. And I think that what that has to do with is his charisma, his charm, but it also has to do with his dedication to the character. He loves this character, and when you see him in interviews, he loves talking about it. And clearly shows on screen. He's having the time of his life. The story, I find, is just a simple origin story. We figure out how Deadpool got his powers. We find a villain that he has to go and fight. We find the training montage, which is one of the funniest moments I've ever seen in any movie. It's perfect in the way that they handle that training montage. I find that the jokes land for the most part in this movie. I found that the side characters were interesting, Negasonic Teenage Warhead and Colossus. I didn't know anything about those characters, and walking away from it, I feel, again, that I know those characters. I find that Francis, as a villain, is serviceable. I think the performance that he has behind him is very good, but I find that the character is just, a bad guy. He's not the most interesting. He provides Wade with the motivation he needs for the film. But I think my biggest problem with this movie, as is my biggest problem with Deadpool, is I don't care about Deadpool. In the way that, I don't care about him in the way that I feel like he will be lost at any certain point. Deadpool is so wisecracking in this movie that it's hard to sympathize with him in the more existential moments, like that he's just dealing with, like when he is a monster. I'm just like, whatever. You're gonna be fine. You're gonna kill people in the future, and you're gonna feel great about it. And it's difficult for me to care about him dying or getting hurt because I know that he can't die. And I don't fear for Deadpool. I don't sympathize with him too much. He's just an entertaining character. The other problem is I'm not a huge T.J. Miller fan. I think he's funny at times. I do think he plays the role pretty well. It's just, there's a few moments that just miss for me. With most origin stories, once you get the story, once you know where it's going, it becomes repetitive for you. You know where it's going, and you're just like, okay, I know where this is going, I'll laugh at the parts. And that's really what I think of Deadpool 1. It's just a movie I say, it was good. It was really good. I don't think it was the masterpiece that a lot of other people were saying in terms of, it was a tour de force of comic book cinema. Like, it was a great representation of Deadpool. I agree. I just didn't think that it was a movie I could fully care about. So as a film, I would give this a 4 out of 5. I think it's a very serviceable origin story, and I think it does justice to Deadpool. Because after X-Men Origins, we did need a proper introduction to this character. Deadpool 2, on the other hand, was excellent. I loved this movie. I saw it twice in the theater, and what I found, I was hoping with the release of a certain movie in the X-Men canon, I was hoping that the movie would open up with a reference to it. Not only did it open up with that, it just made me laugh as hard as I have when I was watching a comic book movie. It was a perfect reference. And the thing that I loved about Deadpool 2, and this is one thing that I think is also a negative for it, but is not necessarily a terrible negative. It's something that, for me, is a positive. I understand the references. Like, the posters are of Flashdance, and also of the Son of Man. Like, I get those references. I know what those references are. Listening to the soundtrack, watching the characters, again, go off of each other. I don't know anything about Domino, and I don't know anything about Cable, but I get a lot of the references that they drop. So for me, it was really funny, but I can understand later on people don't understand the references. Like, this one felt more relevant to today. Like, there is a joke on Jared Kushner in this movie. Like, I think that's funny, but where someone a few years from now who doesn't know who that is will be like, what did you just say? So I don't think it's going to be as relevant later on as Deadpool 1 is, because that one was mostly just focusing on the character and making jokes of, like, 90s jokes, so it was referential to that, while this movie is more referential to today. So that's the only flaw I can really see with it, but even then, this was hilarious. I loved this movie when I was watching it. The opening credits scene, I won't spoil it, but it is perfect. It is a perfect opening credit scene for this movie. And there's a great twist in regards to the title card for the writers from the first movie to the second, which I loved. There's a hilarious intro for the director. I just loved how this movie was opening. And what was really interesting was seeing how the opening came back. At first we thought, oh, Deadpool's just doing this because of what happened in another film, but actually we figure out why he's doing it. And the callbacks that he makes, like the similar references he makes from the first film, they have something behind them that's different. When he goes rock, meet, bottom, it's different. When he says there, all caught up, it's different too. There's a different feeling behind it. And this movie did something I didn't think it would do. It made me care about Deadpool in a way that makes me go, oh my gosh, yes, I care about you, like, as a character, and I want you to go through this, because it wasn't just introducing us to Deadpool, it's saying, without ruining the film, it's expressing how Deadpool's inability to die is a hindrance to him, and how it's causing it to be difficult for him, and how he struggles with that. And then I think the movie introduces a clever way, even though they call it out, way to have him be killed, or have him lose his powers. It's a very interesting way, and it's creative, but they call it out sometimes for being lazy or convenient, which is very good. I love I forget the actor's name, but he plays Russell, the character of Russell in this movie. If you didn't see Hunt for the Wilder People, this kid is actually a very good actor for being a child actor, and he holds a pretty good part in this movie. He's not amazing, but I think that he's very vocal in this film. He holds the scenes that he's in. He doesn't retreat back, which is, I think, something that very few kids or very few people who are inexperienced in the genre would be able to do with such star power as, like, Josh Brolin now, and with Ryan Reynolds. Like, this kid holds his own on the screen, which impressed me a lot. I loved Domino. I thought she was a fantastic addition. I loved X-Force in this movie. I won't say anything other than that. I just love what happens with X-Force. It's fantastic. It was the funniest moment in the movie next to the end credits sequences, which makes you question the whole, again, the relevancy of the film, but at the same time, I just kind of said to myself, I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was funny. And it made me take comic book movies less seriously than I felt like I have to. I think nowadays we're seeing that with franchise films, we take them way too seriously. And I don't think we need to. I don't think we need to be like so committed to feeling like, oh man, the timeline's gonna be like this, and this movie did this before, and now this movie's ruined because this movie's screwed up with this continuity. It's like, no, we don't need to do that. It needs to be solitary. I don't think it should have to worry too much about the continuity of other films when it comes to making it, because if it doesn't stand on its own, then everything at the end doesn't matter. Everything before doesn't matter. You need to build a new story. And Deadpool 2 does that. It references a lot of the stuff from the beginning. We know the callbacks if you've seen the first one. But it stands on its own when you are thinking of it as its own film. But yeah, I just think that this movie is just more entertaining for me personally. I think that has to do with the fact that I was getting the references. I don't think that's going to be the same way for people. I thought T.J. Miller was a lot better in this movie. I wasn't a huge fan of him in the first, but I actually thought he was a pretty good character in this. I thought he did pretty well. Dipindu is fantastic. He's hilarious in this movie. And I thought Josh Brolin was really good. He really committed to the darkness of Cable, and it was a perfect juxtaposition to the wittiness of Deadpool and the lightheartedness of a lot of the jokes that were happening. It was also a lot more violent. The physical harm that Deadpool goes through in this movie is a lot more severe in this film, and it is almost more funny for that. I don't know. It was just a more entertaining experience. I think it also has to do with I was in with an audience when I saw this movie. It was a fairly good-sized audience. I was surprised with this movie, and I was surprised that I enjoyed it as much as I did. So if I was going to give a rating for Deadpool 2, I would give it a 4.2 out of 5. I think Deadpool has a lot more at stake in this film. I know some people have an issue with him being against teamwork and being this independent act in the first movie, and in this film he's like trying to figure out and try to form a team. But that works with what this movie is focusing on. He states this is a family film, and it's actually showing much more growth through Deadpool, and showing that this character can grow and be more interesting instead of just a wisecracker, which is a thing I didn't think that the movie could do, and it impressed me. Well guys, that's my thoughts on Deadpool and Deadpool 2. Yeah, I think that this is a very great character. I think Ryan Reynolds did it justice. I'm glad it exists, and I can't wait to see what happens next with the character. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of Deadpool 1 and of Deadpool 2. Thank you guys so much for watching this. I really appreciate the support. And as always, take care.